put it right there. He hasn't touched it yet.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. We keep our cell phones on vibrate or quiet, and let's not interrupt each other when we're speaking. Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Castillo. It is 6:31 p.m. We'll call the meeting to order. Notice is hereby given that this is a special meeting of the City Council of the City of Sandy Oaks, Texas, being held today, Thursday, February 6, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. at Sandy Oaks City Hall, located at 4451 Hickory Haven, Sandy Oaks, Texas, 78112, for the purpose of considering the following agenda items. All agenda items are subject to action. Ms. Shelton, can we get a quorum call, please?
Alderman Tremblay.
Here.
Alderman Rapino.
Here.
Alderman Fillinger.
Here.
Alderman Walker.
Here.
Alderman Yelton.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Can we stand for Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I like the amen at the end. Amen. Item 3 on the agenda is citizens to be heard. There were none that had signed up to speak during this portion, so we will not go through all that. Item 4, we will move into the town hall. The town hall is to allow for citizen comments and input on the use of fireworks within the city limits and possible action. So at this time, I would invite, we probably need to make a statement first about what the issue is and then invite the public to speak, yes? You have to push the button.
Yes. Well, as you're probably aware, there's in our total area, there's a lot of concern about fireworks, and there's been a lot of discussion and controversy over the restriction of those fireworks displays, if you will, throughout the community, typically during the holiday season and the 4th of July and New Year's. One thing that was interesting, the city of San Antonio did pass an ordinance that restricted the limitations, if you will, on fireworks. And over this last New Year's, I saw fireworks all over the world and there wasn't one ticket issued. And I think what we're talking about today is coming to some community agreement that there is some real safety risk here. And so what we're trying to do is, I guess, figure out how to limit, if you will, the amount of fireworks, particularly those that go up into the air and explode and cause fires and possible home damages and land burning, etc. So if I missed anything, Mary, you might want to add to that.
The only other comment that I have heard is the time, maybe having some time restrictions in place, because not everybody is a 9-to-5 job.
Right.
Pets are a concern. I think if people had an expectation that, okay, I know it's coming, I know it's going to happen, I can agree to that, but I also know that, by whatever time that should cease and we can kind of get back to normal.
Noise and
Right.
and then the use of firearms also.
That's a whole different
won't get into
discussion. Yeah. So is there anybody in the audience that has any comments, suggestions, recommendations? Mr. Gruber?
One, I got maybe 3 suggestions. That, yes, put a time limit. Everybody knows that the bars close at 2. Why can't that be a time limit? Second, I'm not opposed, quote unquote, to fireworks, except those that hit my house, like bottle rockets, stuff like that. the stuff that goes up in the air and makes pretty, formations or whatever, I'm not opposed to that so much, except, you know, in the firecrackers. I know they're dangerous because I've had them blow up in my hand before. The only other suggestion my wife and I came up with is, like the city of San Antonio, why can't the council and the city as a whole get together in one place and have a fireworks demonstration in a safe zone where everybody can come and enjoy it at the same time? With, you know, and have a cutoff period of time. That's what we would be looking at.
And when you talked, did you have any suggestions? You're in favor of the aerials or not in favor, or you don't have a preference?
We're in favor of the aerials because some of them do make nice formations. And yeah, they're loud, but if you have a cutoff period, say like when the bars close, that's the end of it. That's what San Antonio does. They have a certain amount of time, they fire these at different parks in the area of San Antonio and the surrounding area, and that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there anyone else who would like to comment?
Yeah, I got here late. What are we talking about? If y'all don't mind,
We're talking about fireworks, and
I've got that part, but what are we trying to do? Ban fireworks? Are we trying to let fireworks keep going, or what are we trying to do here?
We want to listen to you.
we're going to listen to what you want.
Limitations, restrictions, something you may have in
Limitations
mind?
are great. I mean, we all live in a county, is what we bought when we first got here. Okay, limitations I do understand. People do work nights, work late, and I can understand that. We can't enforce half the rules we got now. So how are we gonna enforce this one?
I agree with you, it's a tough one to enforce. The San Antonio
San Antonio can't
could
do
not
it.
enforce it. We
So
can't
really,
ban
we're
them.
wasting our time, are we not?
We can't restrict them. If we restricted them, our police would spend the whole night chasing people and not.
Yeah, you might as well just come to my house and give me a ticket right off the
They
bat, 'cause
won't.
I'm gonna fire fireworks.
And that's what we're saying, we can't ban them altogether. There were many complaints about fireworks at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. So
And I
this
agree with
is-
that one,
this
yes.
is This is what we're trying to do. Like an example would be setting a limitation at 2 a.m. Possibly. We just want to hear from the public. We just want to hear from you
And
and see if
we're
you have
also-
ideas, so that we don't impose restrictions and then
But-
the citizens come back and say, well, we had no input in that.
Exactly.
So that's what we're asking. We know people love fireworks. My kids do it. My grandkids, they love to see
Exactly.
fireworks.
And I mean, I don't come to
So-
hardly know half the stuff, but this one, yes.
So, and that's what the purpose is.
Well,
is
and
to
the
get input from the citizens.
And Mr. Smith, the other part of that is perhaps a limitation of the types of fireworks. Is that something that people are considering?
Well, I mean, the
Or
type of
aerials?
Fireworks or aerials, I mean, they're already limited, aren't they? You don't get bottle rockets no more,
No, but you get the big aerials.
and he's
And
saying they were fine.
that's what he said. We're looking to hear what you have to say.
They're fine with me.
Okay.
And again, and I think if the county comes forward and says there's a ban because of dry conditions or whatever, we would follow suit and do the
Of
same
course,
thing that the
yes.
county would do. It would be no different. But again, I think it's a noise factor is what why we're here. It's a noise factor and complaints from many people about stuff going off at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the
And
morning.
I agree with that.
I
Yes, that
hear
is a
him.
problem.
I mean, so, and even that, it'd be a tough one to enforce because you're gonna be over on, he may be on this side of town and a rocket goes off over here and it's still, you're still gonna be chasing stuff and trying to catch people doing things that they shouldn't be doing. And you can educate people and and you're still gonna have those that aren't gonna follow the rules anyway.
So what we're doing is just looking for input from citizens on time limits, types, duration, those type things. We want to hear from the citizens on
Well,
their thoughts on
I agree
that.
with this man right here about the 2 o'clock in the morning thing. You know, should be a cutoff. You know, the guns, there's nothing we can do about them. I mean, they go off, we
That's-
know that.
Different, that's different, yeah.
Right, I mean, the aerials though, I mean, I think they're all fine.
Do you agree that any type of fireworks that are being sold would be acceptable for use in the
Well, yes,
city?
I've ran fireworks stands before, and I mean, they're already regulated.
No, I understand they're regulated, I'm just saying within our city limits.
Yeah,
Is there anything
No.
that would not, okay?
As far as days, I myself think the days that they're sold are the days that you can use them. Outside, there's a 10-day window there when they can sell fireworks. We shouldn't be hearing them or seeing them outside that window.
The only problem with that is you got some families that, the first falls on, let's say a Tuesday. And they're not gonna get together on a Tuesday, they're gonna get there together on the following Saturday. You know, so I think there should be maybe a little leeway within, you know, maybe a 5-6 day grace period.
Outside of the 10-day window?
Yeah, outside the 10-day window.
Okay. On either side, before or after?
Well, it's gonna be after, because you can't buy them before anyway. But yes, I think it should go both ways.
How long do they sell them?
Huh?
How long do they sell them?
Well, I mean, on the first, they stopped selling them on
Up
the
to the
first.
holiday.
Okay.
Up to the holidays, they'll stop.
You know, so,
Yeah, they're normally open 10 days.
I got a question.
I don't know why I just
Speak into
nailed
your
it.
microphone, please.
So the way the current ordinance reads regarding noise, it states that fireworks can be popped outside of the 11 p.m. timeframe. So you've got the noise timeframe of 6 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Right.
So that needs to be taken into consideration too when if and when you change the ordinance. Is that, are you talking 2 a.m. for those entire 10 days plus a grace period?
The noise
Or
ordinance will have to
just-
be amended as well as the
Or are you
fireworks.
talking just those 3 holidays that are mentioned, or those 3 nights that are mentioned in the ordinance currently, which
No.
is the 31st and the 1st, and then the 4th of July? Right now, that, the ordinance says that they can be popped without the time frame, the restriction of the noise, you know, between 11 and 6 a.m.
Any change we make to the fireworks ordinance, or the ordinance relating fireworks, will have to mirror the actual noise ordinance. So there will be, if we amend one, the other will have to be amended to reflect it as well.
So you're gonna amend the noise ordinance till 2 a.m. for every day?
No, no,
For
no.
fireworks,
If you read in the
Yeah.
ordinance, the noise ordinance, there are exceptions to holidays.
Yeah, those are the 3 nights, but it doesn't give a time.
Exactly.
So if you set a time on the shooting of fireworks, are you going to set the time for the entire 10 days that they're being sold? Because you're saying you can
Yes.
pop them for 10 days. So you're gonna pop them for 10 days till 2 in the morning?
no.
Or just those 3 days?
Exactly.
So,
No,
yeah,
exactly.
that's just something to
And according
consider.
to Mr. Schmidt, we're gonna add 5 days to that. So in essence, we're just not gonna do anything. It's a free-for-all. But the intent of this is really to develop some kind of community guideline that everyone understands. Within this time period, you can expect fireworks to be going off so that you're not surprised. So 5 days after the stand closes and they're still shooting off fireworks, that becomes a nuisance. A lot of people say that's a nuisance. I mean, why are we still doing that? That's over. They don't want them being popped at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning either. So we're trying to come up with something that people can expect and understand that, okay, within this time period, this is what's going to happen. Mr. Gruber?
You're saying the noise or the time limit starts at 11 to 6, except for what we're trying to do with fireworks. In the area where I live, I know they start sometimes even from as soon as it gets dark. And that, here lately, that's around 5:30, 6 o'clock at night.
Right.
I think you're hearing backwards. The noise ordinance applies between 6 a.m. and 11 p.m.
That's when you can make.
That's
noise.
when you can make noise now.
Oh,
Construction sites and everything else that, you know, if you're running, I'm sorry, if you're running a bulldozer in the lot next door, I don't want you to do that all night long. So noises like that, right now, from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m., they cannot make those kind of noises,
okay,
okay?
okay.
Somebody else had their hand up. Yes, ma'am.
I think an appropriate cutoff time would be 1 AM.
I agree, 2 sounds very late.
Yeah.
So for any night that we are extending
The fireworks.
the
yeah.
fireworks,
Yeah,
school nights, work nights,
yeah.
any night,
Better than 2 o'clock. Yeah.
Yeah, but how many people in all reality are gonna be popping fireworks on school night at 2 o'clock in the morning?
well, it happens.
It's
been happening.
Very far, people to me.
But if it happens,
You
and
got
there's
something
nothing
right
in
on,
place,
okay?
then
I understand
you
that.
have no grounds to write a citation.
Exactly.
One of my neighbors is still popping fireworks at 4 a.m. when I get up to go to work. Just,
Celebrating you getting up.
oh yeah,
Sorry, Charles.
he's away.
I could not resist.
Great to be getting up.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any other comments, suggestions, recommendations, thoughts?
I'm curious about your comment, where you all get together at one place. Everybody brings their own fireworks to this one place to pop them? Is that what you had in mind?
My suggestion would be, as a city as a whole, buy whatever, and then, like I say, like San Antonio, they, on New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, or New Year's Eve, right at the stroke of midnight, they're firing up all their fireworks for, what, half hour to 45 minutes
Tower of the
at the
Americas.
Tower of America.
Mm-hmm.
In the same way with Woodlawn Lake.
Yes.
The whole community gets together, they have their fireworks in one area,
Yeah.
and everybody can come at the same time and enjoy it.
Well, we could do it here at the park.
Yeah.
Well, I took a look around the park and
Yeah, there's a lot of weed.
You have to
it's a
have
huge fire hazard right now. There's a lot of clearing that needs to happen for something like that to occur.
But the issue with that is the city's responsible for that, not the citizens. And you're saying the community will come to one place and the citizens are gonna be, the citizens are not responsible for popping the fireworks in the city. The city is.
Yeah.
They have all the regulations and stuff.
Yeah.
So that means Sandy Oaks would have to regulate that event and pop the fireworks, and the citizens will watch. But
Now, I can tell you
So
whenever there is a public display of fireworks, it has to be put on by a licensed,
yeah.
there's state licensing and they've gotten more stringent over the years.
Right.
So that's a very costly thing in addition to the fireworks
Because you
themselves.
can't have a bunch of people come in one area and just shoot off.
Exactly, yeah.
That's not safe.
And I would also offer that a lot of people have, parties at their houses. And
Yeah,
so that's
I mean,
really
I
what
wanna
they're,
have my whole family's huge. I mean, they'll take up the whole parking lot.
yeah.
I do disagree with you on that because your fireworks stands now, they have what they call safe zones. And you can buy the fireworks at the fireworks stand and walk over into the safe zone and you can pop your fireworks. So it can be done.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's different
I
from
mean,
the going to the park and the
And well,
city.
you're talking about a city display to where you're making a safe zone for everybody to come to and pop their fireworks at. I mean, it's two different animals here.
Right, I was referring to what you
Exactly.
suggested.
Yeah.
I think there's too many, it's not safe.
I think people will shoot their fireworks regardless of whether we put on a display or there are safe
Exactly.
zones because
Yeah.
people want to do fireworks.
Right.
I think we need to set a time at least it might quell some of it and keep some of the complaints down about people that need their sleep because they work and they don't want to be, I mean, God, New Year's Eve, it sounds like a war.
Right.
And it didn't stop at 1 or 2 or 3, it kept going. Maybe not as intense, but it still was disruptive.
And that's the blessing of being deaf.
Me too, it's good because our minds are programmed to stop partying at 2, kind of. Not 1.
Really?
Well, like the bar closes at 2, you know what I mean? Like we're programmed, society, we're like, okay, cutoff time's 2.
You just go to the other place that stays open till 4.
Well, I mean, you know, generally speaking.
That's why they call them sip and shoot.
I'm just thinking we need to relax the noise ordinance during the holiday period. But we need to come up with some realistic times. We're just not going to be able to say, okay, you can do this, you can do that, this days you can, and this day you can't. The 11 o'clock thing, as it stands right now, is at times just like when you go into, if you go into an RV park and you rent a spot, they have quiet hours, and they're paying for a spot to put their trailer, and they expect to get some quiet time.
Right.
It should be no different for people who live in their homes. You expect that you're going to have quiet hours, but I mean, what we need to realize as well is that we've got outlying neighbors who are not in our city who are going to still continue to do their fireworks and their big aerial displays. Behind me, Priest Road, folks up there on the corner, they always have a big get together, and we're not going to go and knock on their door and tell them, hey, 2 o'clock, you guys need to cut the noise. It's not going to happen. And they're in the city limits. So they're in San Antonio. So we just need to be realistic, come up with a decent time, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, whatever it may be. We need to come to some, and we'll get more input from some more citizens. I think we're going to do this again.
We will,
Hopefully we get more input. But that's what we're not going to stop the fireworks.
No.
People are going to have their parties. It's what they do. It's America. It's the United States. What people do, they celebrate. We just need to be realistic and come up with something that's
reasonable.
May not be acceptable to everyone, but it'd be our attempt at trying to come to an agreement.
Over the last, 3 or 4 weeks, I've been hearing from people after New Year's, of course. There's a lot of chatter about that. But you have a lot of new people who moved in, and their question is, can you shoot fireworks off in the city? So I think that's what we're trying to do, is come up with a community guideline, if you will. We're going to call it an ordinance, a resolution, whatever, that establishes whatever those guidelines are. And then when people ask, you have something to reference to say that in the city, this is what the citizens came together, this is what they wanted, this is how they decided works best in our community. Doesn't mean that everybody's going to abide by it, but you do get some peer pressure, I think, from that. And sometimes peer pressure is a better leverage because if you know and you want to play outside the guidelines, then you're kind of, yes, Mr. Schmidt, I see you grinning back there.
I'm just listening.
Any other comments or suggestions, recommendations?
I
Yes,
think that
ma'am.
would make it easier for the officer knowing, oh, it's 2 o'clock, there shouldn't be any more. And then we can at least pinpoint those neighbors that refuse to abide by.
It's always the same ones.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, you're not gonna stop, but at least.
He's one of them back there.
Because all of us here are responsible.
And I think that's going to be
why we're
his
here.
best way to attempt reinforcement.
Right.
Is citizen input, somebody calling and saying, okay, look, my neighbors
Right.
are still doing this. He
Yeah.
can't go and write anybody a ticket, do anything unless he
He sees it. That's the
So if
challenge.
you call him, best he can do is go
Right.
by and say, hey,
Drive
if
by,
you guys
drive by.
popping
Exactly.
fireworks,
Right.
that's best that's going to
I mean,
happen.
I don't see a lot of citations being written for that,
No.
more than community education and just kind of reinforcing.
Awareness.
Exactly.
You know, another issue that needs to be brought up is these people that continually have these big smashing shows and stuff. Half of them don't clean up the street and clean up their trash.
That is
And that is a real burden to the city and everybody concerned.
And maybe we can fight them. because it's, you know, it's there.
Littering.
Well, so if we get to the point where we're writing the ordinance, we certainly would want to consider something like that. Just like we do with trash cans, you know, you can put them out 24 hours before, pick them up 24 hours after, so some expectation. I know that it's dark, you probably had a few drinks, and the last thing you want to do is go sweep up the street, but certainly
We don't
At
drink.
least do it
in the morning.
Yeah, you know,
At least
by-
in the morning, yes.
by
When you
4
wake
p.m.
up in
next
the street,
day.
you want to clean it up.
Because some of those roads you can't even drive down, it's so bad.
Hope a good breeze goes through it. Goes down
That's
the
terrible. And how about the ones that like the tradition that I have some of my neighbors, they have to burn their Christmas tree in the middle of the street. It's tradition.
A tradition?
Yes. Now, whose
They
tradition was
build a
that?
bon- They
You
build a
know?
bonfire in
I
the
think
middle
they're
of the
making the
street.
rules as they go.
Wow.
And
Yeah,
then throw their Christmas tree every year.
in the middle of the
They're
street.
starting a fire in the street?
Yeah.
In the middle of the street, and
That can't be,
Like blocking people from like driving and stuff like that?
yeah.
they kind
they
of can
don't
go
care.
around it because it's a cul-de-sac, so most people just go around it.
Wow.
Yeah, it would be like,
That's a tradition I wasn't aware of.
constitute
Yeah, I
damaging
mean,
city
next
property.
Oh, that's true too.
We weren't home this
That's true.
New Year's, but
You can take a video and give it
Some way to get them.
Yeah, have you ever burned a Christmas tree? It don't take but a
I
few
Doesn't
seconds.
take it, right?
My brother used to do it.
We can put that under the ban the burning cross ordinance.
There you go.
Mr. Crickmer, do you see any comments on anyone viewing? I want to make sure that if there's anybody that's watching and has a comment.
Just watching is all.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Yelton has been keeping kind of track of the different items that have come up. If there's anything that's on there that you understood differently or you would like to add, or you don't feel something was put up that should have been, let's talk about that now and make sure that the list is complete.
and I'll add to it the next meeting.
So,
We
yes.
should have the
Are
authority
we
to-
saying that as far as days, are we going to mention days? We've got the 5-day cutoff, an
I think
extension
we ought to
in
let
there.
that 5 days cut off. The more I sit there and think about it, the more I don't think that's gonna be a good idea, so.
No more grace period after the
It's good,
staff.
they'd leave it to the first, I think that's, y'all are right on that.
So it'll be basically when they're on sale, so it's
Yes, I
a
think
10-day
that'd probably be
window
better.
when the fireworks
More
are on sale.
More I
they'll
sit
be
there and think
permitted.
about it, more it makes sense to me.
Okay.
Yeah, because you'll have those people taking advantage of
Yes.
those 5 days.
Yeah, if you went 5, I'll go
Yeah.
6.
Yeah. And then we won't
Out
have
of left, I'll pop them.
Yeah.
But no.
We need
So did you
7
say
so
no-
we have another
no,
Saturday.
bottle
Exactly.
Well, you can't buy bottle
rockets?
rockets
You
to
can't
begin
buy-
with.
oh, okay.
Not like
Bottle
it used to
rockets
be.
are being sold right now are aerial, so.
Oh, okay. Because some of them, they shoot them, like the kids, you know, they shoot them low, they don't shoot them.
Well, that's the parents' fault for letting them do that.
That's what I'm saying, do we shoot them low? Because they're,
call them
because
things,
this lady was saying.
There's already a state law that addresses intentional firing. If that's a crime.
Yeah, I think those
Right.
are Roman candles, the ones you're talking
Oh,
about.
yeah.
Yeah, and, well, I've seen bottle rockets in the yards, and one lady would post it on next door that she lives alone, she brought her dogs inside, and she had bottle rockets in her yard, and she was afraid that if she goes on fire, you know, it's just her, you know? So they're getting
Well,
in
there's a
here.
difference, man.
They
There's
are.
Bottle
Right.
rockets used to be the small ones that
Right,
are,
that
you
you
know,
put in the bottle.
and now what they got, they're called aerials,
Oh, okay.
okay, and they're about 2.5 feet longer.
So you're saying they don't sell the,
You know,
they
you
don't
can
sell
you can go
the
buy them in Louisiana and bring them over here, but you can't buy them here, don't have them.
Yeah, so then, what she was talking about.
Can't go in Louisiana, huh?
They go high enough to where they're supposed to be out
But
Yes.
they're illegal
when
regardless.
they come down.
You see,
Where they
she's
came
saying
from?
Okay, wait. We got too many conversations.
Yeah.
Ms. Gonzalez, you were
Yeah.
Oh, I was just saying they're illegal already.
the bottle rockets, right? Okay.
So people shooting them off must be buying them elsewhere.
Yes, ma'am.
They also don't sell anything that's aerial during extreme droughts.
Exactly, that'd be, Bear County would ban it, so
Yeah.
we would be following that realm. But
So-
could we go ahead and add the days, the 10-day period when fireworks would be allowed, if we can just put that out so that we include it in the ordinance,
And then also
so that's
add
addressed.
about Bear County Fire Marshal and drought, whatever guidelines that the fire marshal determines for safety purposes.
In other words, if they ban aerials, then they're not allowed.
If they say it's recommended not to shoot them off at all,
Yeah, then we gotta follow
yeah,
that.
whatever they do. And we already have an agreement in place
Follow Bear
with
County
them,
restrictions.
whatever Bear County does, yeah.
And they pull them off of the shelves. They're supposed to, when you're selling them and a restriction comes in place, they pull those, they're supposed to pull those things off the shelves and not sell them.
Okay.
Yeah, they're supposed to. Now, when you're talking about again, when you're talking about the 10 days being allowed
Is
to
your
pump.
microphone on, Lynn?
Excuse me.
Yes, Mr. Yelton, you should try it.
Alderman Yelton.
Just basically that fireworks will be allowed only during the 10-day period that they're
But
legally
again,
being
until 2
sold.
a.m.?
We'll
address the
determine that later. We're,
Yeah,
Gotcha.
dates, times will be.
so right now, we're just gathering information.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
The ordinance will, the amendment will still have to be drafted.
Yes, Diego.
I like the idea of having a fireworks show at the park, and I understand like we do need to do some clearing, but like me personally, like I am young and I do like fireworks, and I understand that like kids like shooting the fireworks, but sometimes I just like seeing like the really big ones, and I understand they're really loud, and I do agree with the time like to cut off. So I was wondering, like, maybe if we do decide to do the thing in the park, like, it's just, like, big fireworks, like the ones that are...
And those require pyrotechnicians to do that.
Yeah.
But, so, you know, we don't have to do fireworks. We could do a laser show. I mean, there's other options that are available if you wanted to do a community type event. So that would,
Because
I mean,
think that would be cool, like, to also draw more attention to the park, like...
And perhaps we could do, you know, not throughout the full 10 days, of course.
yeah.
We could do one event.
I was thinking more like on New Year's, like at midnight, because that's when usually everybody's popping
Drunk?
those fireworks.
Oh.
And that,
Everybody's at home drinking.
Very much.
Not driving down the...
You start popping the cork at
Get
9.
a DUI.
Well, what I was thinking was we could maybe create a safe zone. Let's say we did a 4th of July picnic in the park, so people could come down throughout the day, maybe do, I don't know, do some event down here and have a safe zone where they could shoot off their own fireworks just for that particular event. So we could certainly plan that. I know that lady right there is our activities director, so she's making notes.
And we might want to run it by the folks.
Hi, you met that lady? I'm your mom.
Oh, no. You know where to find her.
Yeah.
give her some.
Okay, that's good.
You also have the ability to set the next town
Yes.
hall tonight.
Yes, we will do that. And do you have your calendar handy, because you keep the best calendar?
I'm gonna go get it. I usually keep it with me.
Were there any other comments or suggestions or input that anyone wanted to provide?
I have a comment.
Go for it.
I've heard from so many people about how absolutely gorgeous Sandy Oaks is on New Year's Eve with all the
With the
fireworks. The issues were the time, because I know at about 1 o'clock we had, and I know this we can't do anything about, but at about 1 o'clock we had massive gunfire down the street from me. And that was when everybody went inside, was right around that time.
Right.
But all my neighbors on both sides, even the ones that we don't always agree with one another, we were all out there enjoying each other and enjoying the time.
No, I agree. When I first moved out here, it was a surprise because I was living in my little travel trailer while I was doing my house, and they caught something on fire. So it was the fireworks and then the fire truck that's turning the corner headlights right at me. I thought they were coming right at me. It was like World War III out here.
With all those pretty
pretty much,
flashing
yeah.
lights.
Yes, all the pretty flashing lights.
And I have lived in a town that did, in New Mexico, that did have a safe zone in the park where everybody could bring their own fireworks. And now they were fortunate in that they had their own fire department, so one of the fire trucks was always available, and one of the EMSs or EMTs was there.
And I don't know that we would be able to
Yeah, we
monopolize.
did have the fire trucks here on New Year's.
Did we?
Yeah, there was a palm tree on fire somewhere.
Oh, I saw that, yeah. It still has scars.
Yeah, I really don't think we could get the fire department to stand by for a
No,
fireworks show.
they're
As
not.
small as
Right.
the department is,
Exactly.
Right, we don't
they're
have that.
No.
busy, yeah.
And we don't have water available in the park, which is another issue. So it would have to be a pumper truck. So we would have to consider some of those
We can
things.
borrow.
I'm sorry?
I got 2 pumper trucks we
Yeah,
can
2
use.
tankers.
Ooh, no, that's the wrong direction.
Wrong fluids.
Your intake only, no output.
It's a commercial that says to put that shit on everything.
Well, there's water somewhere. There's water somewhere.
But
Rock and roll.
But not-
It's off.
Cut down on the people.
It's something below.
Well, that's a way to discourage fireworks if you're coming to put it out.
they won't wanna pop in anything.
Okay, so do you have some potential dates that we could use?
Well, if I can suggest, it seems like we have a bigger turnout during council meetings. One of the reasons being we put the signs out. So maybe
A town hall
one idea
after?
is a town hall
After
After.
city council meeting, that's great.
because we tend to seem to have more. So that's next Thursday, and then you're gonna have a quorum. It's gonna be a regular meeting.
I think our agenda's getting kind of full, but I like that
I don't have
idea.
much on it.
Oh, you don't have much on there yet?
We can,
We haven't turned
we can
everything
wait a
in
couple
yet.
of months, a
Oh,
month
yeah.
or two.
Well,
even.
then,
Yeah, there's no urgency in getting this done.
Yeah, we have to
The
do
next
that.
event that comes up is 4th of July, so we actually do have some time. I don't want to wait till July because we start moving into different,
But if we do,
things
if
we have
we're
to
going
do.
to do an amendment, we should do it a couple of months before
Oh,
the
absolutely.
holidays so that we can
yeah.
attempt to.
So why don't we try next month?
Yeah, talk about March
And-
or April.
Try to do it after the regular meeting,
Oh,
do it in March.
oh, like after the regular meeting?
Yes.
Okay, so the first one would be the 12th of March, which
Mhm.
is the week of spring break. I don't know if that makes a difference.
So let's do the 26th then.
26th?
For the next town hall?
March 26th, yes.
March
Yeah,
26th.
thank you for bringing that up because I seen it just like a day or two before today. So I had to like throw over history at my kids and drive over here.
So the city council meetings are every second and fourth Thursday. Those are standing meetings. And plus with the signs, I think that helps a lot.
Well, the town hall, we could talk.
Yes, but so what would happen is we'd have our regular meeting, then we would adjourn from that and go into the town hall. Yes, which is pretty much what we did here. This was a special meeting. We went through the formalities and then we moved into town hall.
And you wouldn't have to rush to get here.
Because
For
it
the
would be at
town
the
hall.
end of the city council meeting, so you could take a leisurely stroll.
If you're still awake, you could speak.
Okay, March 26th is the first date. Did anyone have any other dates they wanted to consider? Okay, so then I would entertain a motion for recommendation on a date for the next town hall.
I move that we have the next town hall on March 26, 2020,
To follow the regular meeting.
to follow the regular meeting.
Okay. We have Alderman Rapino who has made a motion to hold the next town hall meeting on the fireworks in the city to be on March 26th to follow the regular meeting of that day. Do we have a second?
Second.
Alderman Walker seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Okay, if there are no other comments.
I have a comment.
Yes, sir.
I think the fundamental issue here is respecting other people, their property and their life, whatever. I've had aerials land on my boat, mar the finish, land on my truck, mar the finish, land on my roof. Plus the sound scares the dogs. So something should be in there about considering your neighbors. That's my thought. That's what this whole thing's about.
It is.
Inconsiderate people.
It is, and
We can
unfortunately, you cannot legislate morality.
We
That's
can
just not-
legislate actions, we can't legislate morality.
And again,
respect,
as long,
or
I
dignity.
think as long as we come up with some basic community guidelines is what it really, we're gonna formalize it into an ordinance, but it's gonna be based on community expectations.
To me, the guns scare me more than the fireworks. It wasn't as bad as it is now.
Yeah.
No, they're not supposed to be shooting guns.
That's what I'm saying.
We hear
them before,
right.
but now it's like, you don't know if it's a firework or what it is, but everybody, it seems like every other house is out there shooting guns. It's scary.
Well, we've doubled the population since I've lived here.
We gotta get people to turn them in. If they see them, we gotta turn them in.
And I'm relatively new to the community, but one thing that may be effective is to get somewhat of a community watch program together where, you know, you're not battling on your neighbor, but it's interesting to see people when they're informed about what are the rules and they see things that are broken. There should be a possibility of a way to at least report that or inform someone that can come out, and so it's kind of like a neighborhood, a real neighborhood association that we had citizens on patrol when I was in San Antonio, and that.
We have that out here as well. It's not been an active group. We've had 14 people that have attended it's actually called Cellular on Patrol now. One thing that within their guidelines is you cannot utilize that program for exactly what you're saying. You can't use it to tattle on your neighbors. That's not its intent.
Yeah, but now that you've got two marshals on the books, you know, you.
Well, no, but there's a different program that is a neighborhood watch program, and I would ask Deputy Castillo to kind of put that on your list. Work with Marshal Lopez, see if you guys can come up with some program if people want to be involved to help with some of this. I think that might be helpful.
Yep.
And along those lines of, telling on people or whatever, there is online and as well as here, hard copy that you can fill out, but online there is a form you can fill out of ordinance violations that you may see. And, obviously the city's not going to know everything that's going on. So, and those forms go to the marshal himself and ordinance violation reports. So you can always do that as well if you see something.
And those reports are anonymous. You do not have to identify yourself, and
they come to him with.
They came only to him.
Yeah, they go only to him, and there's an option to remain anonymous if it should go to court or something like that. But of course, it requires an email address, so yeah, he's going to at least know that much. But it goes to him so that he can follow up, or Deputy Castillo.
Okay.
Mayor.
Yes.
Will you be planning a newsletter?
Yes, there is a
between now and
newsletter
the
that will be going out in the March timeframe, yes.
What I was thinking was that we could do that to coincide with the new fireworks regulation, but I don't see that being done prior to March.
No, I don't see it being
Maybe
done.
if you put off the newsletter till April, end of April. And we could address also gunfire within the city, and you do English and Spanish, but there should be something in there telling folks that you can't shoot your guns here in English and Spanish, and that anyone caught will be dealt with severely. I mean, will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law.
Yep.
You got to put something out there. People think they out here in the country we can shoot a gun, no problem.
I find it interesting that people that have firearms in their possession don't know how to properly use them. It's scary.
It depends on how many of these things they have,
Mike, leave me alone.
But just a suggestion that we do the newsletter after we address the fireworks ordinance.
I'll move it to April, and then that way it'll be a little bit more timely with the holidays that are coming up.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Along with Mr. Tremblay there, I was always told, and I was told by Barrett County Sheriff's Department, anytime you fire a firearm out here, you have to notify them and tell them why.
What I have heard, this is what I have heard, that if, and it was related to animal control, specifically to dogs, that if there is a dog that is threatening you or your animals on your property, has to be on your property, that you may shoot that animal to protect yourself, your children, your property. When, if that happens, yes, you have to call Bear County and make that report.
Well, they told me the same thing about either animals or humans.
Sure, you
Oh,
have.
well, yeah, you're
protect your
gonna
property.
call them when you shoot somebody.
It's to stand your ground. law.
Exactly. And
Correct.
we're looking to Deputy Castillo.
Well, it's just-
Absolutely.
It's a stand your ground. I mean, it's no different if it's a human being who is threatening your life or a dog. You have the right to protect
I mean,
yourself.
in the past, I've had to do that. I've had to call Bear County and say, hey, this is what I did and this is the reason I did it.
And they will come out, I know one of my neighbors had to do that as well. And they did come out and they talked to both parties and looked at the evidence to make the determination, because it can turn into a civil or possibly a criminal case.
In this case, it'd be a good idea to notify our marshal.
At minimum, yeah.
Have to fire a weapon to protect yourself. Cover yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, any other comments? We don't even have an adjourn on this agenda. So,
Well, we're gonna be here all night.
Y'all later.
so it is 7:17 PM and we will adjourn this town hall meeting. And thank you everybody for coming and for your input.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, I have, anyone, I have medals.
Oh,
You know, because
First ever, it's gonna be historic item.
you're gonna hit with your annual.